is I realized there's three core touchstones to building any business. And I focused on those. One is money, income. So many businesses and so many, people focus on expenses.
Welcome to 7 to 8, our special series on 7 and 8 figure speakers. In this interview series, some of the hottest speakers in the industry who've made over 7 figures in a year or less will uncover their twists and turns in their adventures, helping you to avoid the potholes and stick to the fast track. Welcome now to center stage, our next guest speaker. Hey there, peeps. This is Michelle Nedelec, and I am super glad that you're here with us today because I'm here with my most amazing guest, Paula. Paula, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me. So glad to be here. Honored. Thank you.
Nice. So give us kind of the 5,000-foot highlight view of who you are and what you love to do.
Okay. So I am a master business coach, and I focus on the success journey for women and help them reach high income levels, scale their business to $1 million and beyond. And we like the beyond word. And I help them do that painlessly and quite often within a year's time.
Nice. That's fantastic. So let's talk about you and how did you get into doing the business coaching side of things?
Yeah. So I actually have always I've been a serial entrepreneur, been an entrepreneur throughout my life. And even from the young age of, the lemonade stands, all that stuff. And I found myself actually working in corporate America about 6-7 years ago. I was working my way up. I was a CEO of an organization, and I was very unhappy, and I was trying to start something else so that I could go out on my own and do the entrepreneur thing that I've always done. And everything I was doing was failing. And in the middle of that, I also had a marriage that was failing. I was broke. I was more than $500,000 in debt. This was about 5 years ago. It just felt like nothing I did was succeeding or I wasn't accomplishing anything. And I made a decision. I didn't even have enough money to buy food regularly for my young son. And I'm a mom who started being a mom a little bit older in life. And so I found myself in my 40s and this whole situation going on where I was supposed to be, knowing something. I had all this education and just nothing was working over and over and over again. I had grown up a kid in a very abusive home life. And a lot of my mindset growing up through that was, one, chaos was my best friend. That's what I always knew was chaos. And number two, I had a very lack-based mindset. So it was always what's going to go wrong. Everything's going to, that was my mindset. So at this time, when I was in a bad marriage, couldn't feed my son, $500,000 in debt, I went out for a walk to plan my suicide. And what I was trying to do was figure out how I could leave this earth without damaging my son. And we all know that that is not something that can happen. So thankfully, during the walk, it's very strange, but I encountered this flower that was halfway dying and halfway alive. It was brown, but it was still really beautiful. It was very compelling to me. And that flower, I always have flowers around me, you'll see, and those kind of things, because it literally saved my life. I had a moment of a change of mind. And instead of wanting to kill myself and those kind of things, I gave myself this sort of idea that, if I could find happiness, if I could find a solution, it would, I could go back to my son who had a soccer game during that time in an hour. I could go back, take him to a soccer game. And if I could just move forward and like life again and make money and make it work, then I would live. And I gave myself very short period of time, a month, to do this. So I've always been a person who doesn't wait very well. So I gave myself a short period of time, and I immediately started looking on YouTube. I was broke, didn't have the money to hire coaches, anything like that. And I started listening to people like Bob Proctor, people that were in Tony Robbins, those kind of people that were in this space. And it started to change my mind. And the big compelling thing that happened, the big deal that happened, is I had a change of mindset. And instead of being so lack-based, I started looking toward what could work, what would happen. And even though I had I was running, helping people run their businesses, and I was an economic developer and bring people and build their businesses big. I knew this stuff, but I couldn't apply it to me. So I just continued on this journey. And I was working at the time that I went on my suicide walk, 3 jobs. And over time, a few months later, I was feeling so much better. And I realized I had more money. I quit a job, and then I had more money, and then I had more money. And I can't not tell you the importance of the mindset change in this whole journey. I mean, Master Business Coach, we often talk strategy, and we're going to talk strategy today as well. And I use strategy as well, but that mindset is so important. It's a primary piece. And the mindset of money, the mindset of abundance, the mindset of looking for opportunity and prosperity is what I got first. And that changed everything. And now a few years later, here I am, multi-million dollars in assets, all the debts paid off, very different story. And I help other women. I turned around and to help other women also find this success journey, and also recreate this and be able to be millionaire in that process. So I became a coach. That your question was, how did you become a coach? I became a coach during that journey, and I decided to receive some coaching myself, and coaching helped me so much. And the sort of daily and weekly accountability, as well as the mindset stuff, and what I was learning, and what I continue to be in groups with other people who are also successful and doing on this journey as well, that it really impacted me, and I knew the value of it. And so I decided to become a coach myself, and use I had a lot of this knowledge already. I was already in consulting roles and those kind of things. And so I directed it specifically toward helping people build their businesses.
I love it. Well, and so many people say, especially people who talk about building wealth, say you have to have a lot of time on your side because you need compound interest in your favor. And a lot of people don't have time, and they don't have compound interest in their favor.
Exactly.
So I love that everything you do is an inspiration. And to me, it's, that hope breeds eternal. It has to start now, because now is the only time you can start if you haven't started already. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I was not one that started in my 20s, but there's many times I think to myself, well, dang it, why didn't I get this before? But I just didn't. It wasn't part of my journey, right?
Exactly.
And the other part of it is I help the majority of the people that I work with now are in their 50s, women that are in their 50s. And, some of them have businesses that are, kind of moving along and in the 6 figures, and I help them build that to 7 figures very, very quickly. And then others don't have a whole heck of a lot saved up, or a business, that's sort of moving along in a certain way. And so I help them build and scale. I really, truly believe in setting very big goals, and not setting your sights on even 6 figures. Many people in my world, we're not even allowed to talk about 6 figures, because it is and I don't want to offend anybody, but if, a lot of people
offend away. I have a podcast called Happy to Offend You.
All right. Well, here we go. If you're making less than $250,000 a year and you're running a business, you might as well just go work for somebody else, because it's the trajectory that you want to go beyond. You want to have freedom. You want all the reasons that you started a business. You might as well really, really get the money that allows you to invest in real estate and, build the wealth and build that wealth capacity, as opposed to just sort of slogging around in 6 figures, which really for now really isn't much. It's not a livable wage. I don't feel like.
I love you. 250 grand is not a livable wage.
No.
That's going up on the
Write that down. That's a quote. Right?
So let's get into the secret sauce, because I'm dying to know how you did it. How did you build your first million?
So I made a decision. First of all, I made a decision, sort of like a person who's in the military, a Marine, that I had a mission and that there wasn't anything else that I could do. And remember, at the time, I had a young son and I wanted to feed him. So that was a goal of mine. Like, you know, not only am I going to feed him, send him to private school, I was a single mom and still am. And this is, put my stake in the ground, made an absolute decision. And that is really, really important. And so the mindset was there that I am going to focus my energy on what I have to learn and everything I need to do to be able to build wealth for myself. And I'm not going to be like, I want more than a livable wage. So I actually detailed like 5 steps for myself, 5 steps. And the first step was, and these are the steps that I recreate with women very regularly. And if you're, I know you're listening right now, so write these down, right, as we go for your podcast viewers and people that are listening. So the first step for me, and I know this about other women as well now, is I needed to have my lifestyle work for me. I needed to be able to go and get my kid from school every day. I needed to, be able to spend time as a mom. I couldn't just leave, like there are some gurus out there that say, if you really want to do this, just leave everything. It's worth it. And just, you come back to your family when you've got this money, it'll be worth it. Well, women can't do that. Yeah. And so the first step I took is, and we're never going to do that. It's not part of our DNA. Think of what we were doing back in archaic times when the dinosaurs roamed the earth. We were together raising the children.
Yeah, that was said by a guy, because with kids around, you can't even go to the bathroom alone. Exactly. Go to work alone. I mean,
so I knew that, and I was listening to many male gurus, I'll say that, and I just knew I couldn't do what they were saying. And so I delineated, I need to be able to, that was the first thing I structured out, is I go pick my kid up from school. And for me at the time, it was important for me to take Fridays off and get pedicures. And I don't do that anymore, but at the time it was. So I spent, that step 1 was for me to detail first what I wanted my lifestyle to look like, the family members that I wanted to stay in touch with, how I was going to do that. What was important to me, work hours, all of that stuff. And then every decision that I made about my business and building my business from then on moved in relationship to that first step, which was define your lifestyle. And that is a really big mistake that a lot of people make that really stalls them, particularly women, because they get going and they're building and then they get so busy and they don't want to get any busier, and and then they get burnt out and they're overwhelmed. And that first step takes care of a lot of that problem. So that was the first thing I did. And then the second step, I said, okay, well, this is kind of like a journey for me. This is like, I thought about it like driving from North Carolina to Michigan. And if I was going on this kind of journey, would I just get in the car and drive straight to Michigan with a kid and everything else is going on? No, I would stop along the way. And I would have specific, places, stop places for myself. And what the focus would be during that journey, the stop places would be, I'm going to stop first in West Virginia. Can you tell I've made this drive before? I'm going to stop first in West Virginia. And all of my focus is going to be on getting to West Virginia. I'm not going to think, I know I'm going to North Carolina. I mean, I know I'm going to Michigan, but I'm going to focus on that next goal, that next step. And so in my financial journey and my business building journey, I set a goal, and it was to get to $20,000 a month. That was my first stop. And I started detailing all of the targets that I needed to hit to be able to do that. So part of it was, what's the math? I mean, how much am I charging to do X and such? How many people do I need to find and charge that amount? Are there that many people out there that I could find? Who's got my money, right? Those kind of things. I set targets that included the math, the reverse engineering of the math. And then I just focused all my energy. I mean, literally increased my activity to find the people that, would hire me as their coach, to, to give the programs, to give the value, till I got to $20,000 a month. And that was my second step. So first was my lifestyle. Second was that first stop along the way. And I learned during that first stop what had to happen, sort of like what was a process. And I kind of kept up with it. How many people do I need to contact a day to be able to get these clients? How many, what cost structure works, all those kind of things, all the while maintaining my lifestyle that I had delineated. So once I got to that $20,000 a month, and that was replicable for a couple of months, I said, okay, now it's now time to take the third step of the journey, to go to the next place. And so all of my focus went to doubling that income to $40,000 a month. And so I rinsed and repeated what I had done before, because it worked. And then along the way, I also, got coaching because I could afford it. A high-end coach who had done this kind of journey, a mentor. I don't know anyone who's ever been, please listen to me, people. I don't know anyone who's ever been on $1 million, $1 billion, whatever it is, journey, who has done it in a year's time without coaching, without mentoring, probably within 5 years without mentoring and coaching. It's really important. And to wait until you have X and such to get it, you're never going to get it, because you've got to change your mind. You've got to change your activity. You've got to know what's important. You've got to market. You've got to touch those three. And that was the other thing I want to add in, is I realized there's 3 core touchstones to building any business. And I focused on those. One is money, income. So many businesses and so many, people focus on expenses. Well, there's only so low you can go in expenses, right? You're not going to not feed yourself. You're not going to not live in your house. You're not going to not drive a car. And so that's kind of like a circular argument. But if you focus on income, the number one thing is get some income in here, and that's your primary focus. How do I get the income? Where are the people that have the money? What do I got to do to get it? Every single day, that's unlimited. That will grow your business. The second piece that I knew that was important to grow my business was marketing. Knowing how to market, knowing, not just using social media. A lot of my clients think, I've been online every day and I'm not growing. Well, there's an algorithm out there, and, a lot of people don't see what you're doing. There's other ways to market. And so marketing is probably more important than sales, but sales is the third piece. And that goes back to your income. So if these 3 work together, if you're really using a pattern of, I'm focusing first on income, I'm using marketing first and foremost to do it, and I'm focusing on how good am I as a salesperson, then you're going to grow no matter what. So that was in the second step, and I rinsed and repeated it and just took it higher, better, faster, stronger to the third step, and got to $40,000 a month. I knew I was going to $80,000 a month, because that would get me at $1 million a year. So I did that. And then at that time, it became very evident. I had a mentor, I had these processes, but I couldn't do it alone anymore. And so I got to $40,000 a month. Just, I knew I couldn't do it alone. And the next step was to scale. All right. And that was to not replicate me, because who could replicate me, but to bring other people in that, augment what I'm doing. And I heard a lot of pushback, even from my mentor. I got another mentor. My mentor was saying, well, it's not time. You don't do this. They're going to be like a representative of you unless you're absolutely sure they're, no. And I was like, if I have 10 people working for me, that's 10 times the work that gets done. If it's only me, there's a limit, and I got a kid, and I got a lifestyle that I'm protecting right now, right? I'm not leaving all that. I can't. And I got to drive to school and get him at 3:30 or DSS takes him, right? I mean, of course, I'm in the car line plenty of times. I don't know if there's any other single moms in here working my butt off in the car line, but making phone calls the whole way. And I using your time, and realized probably at that third step where I was scaling, where I was looking at really how does this kind of come together in a song and go bigger in this scale, right? At that moment. And you put together a strategy and a structure for that. How many people do I need? What do I do really well? I sell really well. I can talk to anybody, anywhere. I'm the marketing person. I'm out there in the voice, but I need other people that take care of accounting, because I don't like that, right? I don't do that so well. That's like the last thing I do, but that's important, right? I need other people that'll put the operations together, those up behind the scenes people that are, I'm like, keep me out of jail. I'm gonna run after the goal like a maniac with my hands in the air going, but I don't want to go to jail. So keep me out of jail. So those kind of people I knew, that I needed, and I put a strategy together and hired them, and I paid them well. So they were excited to be with me. One of my primary things, even with my team right now, is to keep them motivated, right? Now, I will say, in the meantime, I also had expertise in real estate. And I went back into investing in real estate in the meantime. And because at that point, a lot of times when you're scaling, you need a little bit of capital, right? And I was moving so fast through this, it wasn't like the 10-year process where it was putting back capital. And plus, I had never learned that, right? Now I know it, but nobody ever talked to me about putting 40% back and putting 20% to your marketing or whatever. So I needed some capital. And so I flipped a few houses, just in all honesty. But I coach people to do things a little bit differently. But I got houses, renovated them. I don't do the work. I hired other people. I really believe in hiring other people. I hired other people to do the work, managed that while I was growing my first company, my coaching company. And then I'd use some of that money for capital. So you got, at that point, at step 3, when you're scaling, you do have to have some access to capital. But a mentor that's been through this process all the way along is going to be helping you. And I would say, just for people that are kind of in this and looking at this, as your income grows, don't grow your spending stuff on stupid stuff along with it, right? Like, we want to go buy the Gucci bags and, whatever. I will say I do have a beach house, and I had a beach house that I renovated, and I kept that. That was a miracle. But I have a beach house, and I also have like a nice car and those kind of things, but I kept myself on a salary. And I would recommend that as well. Set a salary that's a livable, nice wage for you. And then 40%, as your income keeps going up, those next like increments that come in, go put aside 40% of that increment. That 40% you can use to invest in something else, in real estate. And this is one thing I did do that helped me. And or you can invest it in your marketing, in your business, and your capital growth. So even when you're like at step 1, that next amount and increment of money, start putting, and if you're like me, put it somewhere where you can't get it easily. I had to drive to a bank to go get it because it made me think about it, because at that time in my life, I would have rated that stuff. I didn't trust myself. I didn't have that. So I needed to get my money right. I needed to understand better about how that all works and money. I needed to get marketing right, and I needed to get sales right. So as I got better and better and better, things grew and grew and grew, and I kept taking the next step. So now I'm at step 3, which was $40,000. The next step was 60 a month. And at that point, I needed to scale. And so I had a plan. I had sold some real estate myself for capital, but I'm backing up and telling you, if you don't want to do that or do something, find capital or whatever, you will be saving along the way. Save 40% in increments, and then grow your team. And then all of a sudden, yes, you are managing people. And I will tell you, make fast decisions. If you have 10 people that you're paying to do 10 times the work, and if somebody's in there and they're not pulling their weight and they're not doing it, this is a business, right? It's hard for women sometimes because we all want to be tribe and we want to help and love each other. But your tribe is your lifestyle, and your tribe is what you're growing toward. And often what I found out is when I like would have that heavy-handed conversation with somebody like, I've been paying you and it's just not kind of panning out. You're looking at me like you've had this experience, but
I think anybody that ever had people,
everybody as a
you're
teen
going to
has
go through
this,
this.
right? Right. And so this is something that holds people back, though. They're afraid. They're afraid, right? So that's where mentoring can come in. And also over time, you're going to be like, I got to get over this fear. If I want to be a millionaire, if I wanted this to go to billions, I got to know this and I got to make fast decisions. And so oftentimes when I have had that heavy-handed conversation with somebody, or it was like, okay, we're moving on, I'm getting somebody else in here because we got to keep going. Because I will run toward a goal like a maniac. You got to keep up with me and you got to be energetic on my team. And people either love that or they don't, right? And so, but people have come back to me that said, that was a really good gift you gave to me because I learned so much, right? I learned so much through you saying, this ain't working. See ya. So don't be afraid of that and I keep saying get mentoring. It's so, so important. And by the way, I provide that mentoring. So if you're listening to this now and this feels compelling and you want to learn how very, very quickly to scale from what you're doing, I would say if you're at about 6 figures or maybe just near that, 100,000 a year, this is a really good time to connect with me and, go there in a year's time to $1 million, because these 5 steps will absolutely help you. I've done it over and over and over again with people. But then if you're kind of starting a business, it may take you a bit longer. I'm not going to say in a year's time from zero, right?
Although it's been done, so
it has been done, and it gets done every day. Do you know there's 1,700 people who become millionaires every day in the United States? Every day. So if you're sitting here listening to me thinking, I don't know about $1 million, I don't know if I could. Yes, you can. The money's there. It's just knowing how to do it. It's a method. It's a strategy. You can do it. And the hardest part, I will say this, is that first step. That going from, I will say first to second step, because everything in you gets challenged during that part of the journey. After that, it gets so much easier. Your mindset gets challenged. Your who you are as a person gets challenged. Your view of why you've been at where you are financially gets challenged. And if you can get past that, there's no stopping you. I mean, it's just no stopping. So step number 4 is getting to the $60,000 with the team and scaling and just, being so excited and seeing it happen. What for me was I needed to see it like a couple of months, a little bit of time. So it wasn't, oh my God, it's going right back down. That was kind of my little fear. And so then, you just set your goal to 80 and you got your team and there you go. And it went beyond that for me. So,
I love it. So who do you work with mostly, or what kind of businesses are you helping them to set up and scale?
So I do work with coaching businesses. And I'm just gonna, you said I can't offend. So I'm really sick of hearing. In fact, I was on a group call with some coaches the other day, helping them build their business. And I put up both my middle fingers. And they took a screenshot of it. So it's in perpetuity. But I'm so sick of hearing other coaches that are trying to talk you into getting to 6 figures. Because for me, that's not a livable wage. I want to talk to you about how do you do this in 5 steps and go to $1 million from the get-go, So I work with other coaches. I work with, there's all kinds of businesses I work with. I'm trying to think through them really quickly. I have multi-level marketing people that I work with, and that's a little bit of a challenge. I will say that takes a person that's really, really going to work on volume, because you got to do that through volume. But all of this is volume, right? And team building. If you're going to multi-level it, you've got to build that big team. You've got to. I work with, this is interesting. My very first person that I took from a few $100,000 a year to 10 million a year.
Wow.
He was a CEO that worked for a case management company that provided services for people who had disabilities. And
Wow.
and he hadn't like really spent time with his children or anything like that. He was like in that mode of grind it out.
Mhm.
And we put together the lifestyle plan. He reconnected with his kids. He ended up during that year going to Europe for like 6 weeks with his team in place. And his company grew so much while he was gone.
There's a lesson to be learned there, that when you have
Well,
a
he
team,
says
you
that
probably
too.
get more done behind your back than
They were just waiting. Look, could you go now? Could you go now? So he does that every single year and
Nice.
travels quite frequently, but he reconnected with his children and, all that kind of stuff, and just grew really, really, but he ran a case management organization. And now they're, in all kinds of different states and doing all kinds of things. So, yeah, it's been varied and I'm very open to talking to anybody. Insurance agents, I've helped that. I've helped marketing companies. Oh yeah, that's really easy. Start a marketing company. If you don't get marketing as a business person, you're missing big, huge stuff, right? You're just being like backwards. Like you've got to invest in marketing, especially right now. Well, there's this looming recession. There's companies that are backing up and scrunching down, whereas you should be like, blast it, go higher, bigger. And people become millionaires more in recessions if they do it the right way. So right now people are like, sort of like, no, it's scary. No, this is the time to really go higher, hire me, let me help you right now. This is your opportunity. And especially, I do work with real estate and investors because that's my, I know that world very, very well. And actually help women once they get to a certain level of income. You got to have some tax relief and you got to have some stuff going on. It's a really good idea to start investing with a group of women investors or some other way in real estate, because that's a touchable asset that's always there and it's going to stay stable. It has over time. You putting cash in the bank and leaving bukus of cash in the bank it's if you had a stock and it was called CASH and you were watching like what this stock was doing, this cash has gone down in value over the last 10 years, 90% in value. You would be like, get rid of that stock. The only people that are really benefiting from cash in banks, big fat stuff, is the banks. So, moving that and investing it and reinvesting it in your company and yourself, you can never lose with personal growth. People that tell me I'm going to get coaching when I save the money, I'm like, you ain't going to save the money until you get coaching.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that process, it's a 5-step process. The I don't want to say hardest, but the challenging part of the journey is all in that first to second step. And then it's a rinse and repeat and understand these concepts better and deeper and continue to grow, and then get a team at a certain point, usually around, 60,000 a month or not. What could be different. I started teaming when I was
right
first
away.
starting. Yeah. I'm
Like,
going to
I'm not
hire
doing
other
this
people.
accounting crap. I'm not doing
Exactly. Just come on. Right. But some
Right.
people are like, okay, but that you really can't get beyond a certain point if you don't hire other people at some point. So.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people don't realize too, that when you start making money, you got to do something with it. It's not, it doesn't make sense in any way, shape or form to leave it in a bank.
No.
It fathoms me, and I can't believe that people actually do that. And I know they do it because there's incentives from the bank to leave your $50,000 in your bank account. I'm like, who?
I will tell you, I have done it when I first started making good, like big money, because I never had any money. And I like to look at it. I was like, oh, oh, I'm secure. But then I realized how down it's going and how fast. I was like, oh my gosh, this has got to go into something that's generating more income for me, And so I thankfully, and I had some mentoring with that. And I also knew the real estate world, and that's my comfort. There's people that do Bitcoin. I don't do much Bitcoin. I don't quite understand it. So, and it's too volatile, for
The
my
best
understanding.
advice I ever got was invest in things that you understand. And if you don't
Absolutely.
understand things, get educated.
Well, right.
Get
And
educated
that,
before you put
I
your money.
do, I will say this. I love that you brought this point up, because often women will say to me, well, I'm ready to go on this journey. I want to scale, but what I'm afraid when I get this much money that I won't know what to do with it,
Well,
that
don't
I
worry.
will lose it all because I won't know what to do with it. And I'm like, you know
That's what you
what?
spend your Fridays doing. So
It's
schedule your Friday off and make sure that you're doing some money education on Friday.
Thank you. And
Yeah.
there's always somebody that'll help you. You don't have to like sit and be confused. You
Yeah.
can find assistance. If you're telling
Yeah.
yourself a story, I don't want to do this because, start to listen to that story and figure out, I want to do this and this is how I will instead, right?
Well, and I think millionaires got a really bad rap somewhere along the way. I don't know where, but most of them that I know all get really excited about it and want to share how they did it, and they want other people to do it.
You see
Like
me here?
it's
I mean,
hey.
I'm like, come on, there's enough well, what you realize
Nice.
along the way when you change that mindset from the lack-based mentality to one of looking and seeing prosperity and looking, you have to do it before you can create it. You can't, you don't create it and then get it, because it's exactly what was happening to me. Everything was failing because of my mindset, not because I didn't know it, not because of the strategies. It was my mindset. And so you have to somehow commit to focusing on prosperity, focusing on seeing abundance on purpose, like reframe your brain somehow. And when you do that, you will realize there's enough for everyone. Abundance is for everyone. It's not just me. It's not just you. And so I can be a millionaire and continue to grow and continue to go. And I can teach you how to do it because it's part of my abundance. It's part of my joy, my heart. And it's not going to hurt me. It's going to help me. Right. So when we get that, I remember almost the day when I was like, oh, there's enough for everybody.
Right.
It's not a pie.
Right?
I almost remember that. And it's very interesting. There's been like 3 or 4 key things that I really remember. One day I was kind of going through, my business and building my business. And I was like, gee, what's going on here? I'm not, this sector is not doing what it's doing. And I don't know. And I was getting all nervous. What do I need to tweak? What's the information here? And I was like, and I realized, oh, this other of what I'm doing is going bananas. And I'm just myopic thinking all the solution is right here. And I'm missing part of this.
Nice.
And what I need to do is focus some more energy over there while I still work over here because it's important, but stop being so myopic. I think that's a big mistake. The things that I think are bigger mistakes for me, which people can learn a lot from mistakes, is I waited too long to scale. I waited too, like I could have scaled. Like I was kind of scaling a
You're
little
hilarious.
bit.
So
Like I
when you
went,
wait like 8 months?
yeah. But I was like writing stuff, right? I waited that. And I also, a mistake I made is I had it in my mind that before I could present something and market it, it had to be done.
Oh no.
No,
Not in the digital world.
that
No.
slowed me so down. Well, all
Right?
of the big companies, I was watching them. That's the other thing, a mistake I made. I didn't study other people and what they were doing and what was, like recreate their success. I thought I had to all do it myself and do something different. No way. Do what they're doing, emulate it.
Exactly. Sometimes.
And Thank you.
Yeah.
Marketing.
Reinventing the wheel. Damn it. It's still a wheel.
Just do it again. Marketing, especially if it's working, go do it. Say it your own way. Do it. Yeah, so I used to think I used to have it all done, like in the digital world or whatever, before I started marketing it. And all of these big companies that I was studying, even Coca-Cola, or whatever, they are not even necessarily digital, but they start marketing this thing like a flavor of Coke or whatever before it's there, right? So people see the commercial, and what do? They get it in their head, I want to try that, and then they get to the store and there isn't any of it. But what do? They buy another Coke. They buy another Coke, right? Because they're thinking about Coke. And that company, what they do is they start making money off of that marketing that helps them fund what they're doing to create that flavor of Coke, right? And I'm like, I don't have to, I can market books before they're out. You don't have to have it all done. And that is something that slowed me down. And I see it with a lot of entrepreneurs. They're like, I'm working on getting this course together and I'll have it done by March. And then, we'll start putting it out there. I'm like, oh, first of all, you've got an algorithm to fight with, so you might as well start talking about it now because nobody's hearing you.
Yeah,
You got 3 months lead before somebody hears you.
Yeah.
And second of all, why not, have people in the space saying, I want that. It's also a little bit of a test. If nobody's buying it, then you got a little bit of feedback there too. So that was a mistake I made along the way.
Absolutely. So what are some of the stumbling blocks that people might be experiencing right now? And they're going, oh my God, Paula, I need you so badly.
Overwhelm. They've gotten themselves into trying to do it all. And I don't know what it is about women in particular, but we have some kind of message that if we're not doing it all, we're getting it wrong. And so we'll hang in there and just keep banging away and killing ourselves and working.
I'm smart enough. I should know how to figure this out.
And why isn't, why I should be able to do this all. I've got 6 kids and I've got, a husband that travels and now I've got 6 real estate closing. I just had this conversation this week and and it's like, dude,
right.
Get some help. Come on, relax. And that overwhelm and it almost makes people not want to grow because they're in overwhelm and they're like, I'm going to have to do more. Whereas we can solve this. We can make this painless for you if you define your lifestyle and if you will be willing to scale and stop being selfish. You don't have to have all the money. Share it. You're going to have more. If you share it, you'll get more. That's how it works. It's law of receiving.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. So I know our listeners are going to want more from you. How do they start their journey with you?
So yeah, you can certainly, I don't know if do you put out information about how to connect with me?
Oh yeah, we'll have everything in your show notes.
So you certainly you'll have like a little link you can go to set up an appointment with me. Glad to have an absolutely free prosperity planning session with you along the way. You can go to my website, paulabcoaching.com and set that up. If you don't want to wait to look at the material or whatever, paulabcoaching.com. And you can set up an appointment with me. I have very regular challenges once a month, very regular. I do have a group that you're part of. Thank you for being part of that. It's called Women of Wealth Over 50, because a lot of the women that I'm working with are 50 and older, and I'm on a dedicated mission to help people have the life and the dreams and the wealth they always wanted. So it's Facebook group. It's very, very active. I would invite you to join that. I'll put that in the show notes as well. And that's a great way to kind of dip your toes if you're like, what is she all about? Let me see what this woman's doing. So I also have a couple of books out. I do have a book about getting to your first 6 figures. So, I do have that if you want that, if you need it. So we'll put that in the show notes. You can get that absolutely free. And just make an appointment with me. Everybody's situation is different, and it's so nice to just have that conversation. Now, I do have a team of people. They can also help you with many, many things. If that doesn't fit, we have, challenges and all kinds of many things. But making an appointment's the first step.
I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So I get to ask you now, going back to your lemonade stands, at what point in life did you know that you were a special kind of crazy enough to think that you could become an entrepreneur?
Oh my gosh. I don't ever think I said I'm special kind of crazy. I think other people always told me that, you special kind of crazy girl. But I just have always, like, it's like I can sit with anybody and I have 15 ideas for how they can build their business. And what I will tell you, one of the things, this is before I was coaching, but I knew that there was something a little bit different than me, because people would come and sit to me and I would give them an idea for a business. And then they would come back and have coffee with me and say, this is happening. What else? What else? What else? You're smiling. You've probably done this too. And these little rat finks would get like $1 million coming in, a business to $1 million. And I was like, why am I not doing this? Why am I telling, why am I not coaching them or telling them or something? I didn't know the word coaching back in those days, but yeah, I've always been, it's like, I never even thought I'm an entrepreneur. It's just been something I've done. It's in my blood. It's who I am. And if you want to grow your business and you kind of need some new ideas or directions or pivoting, in fact, during COVID, I actually lost all, I used to meet directly with all my clients before, the Zoom thing became popular and everything like that. And I had a really good business meeting with people. And I actually left my last client when they were shutting down North Carolina, and I was driving back, and one after another of my clients were calling and canceling with me. We don't know what's going to happen. I think our business is going to shut down. I mean, it was like, and here I am, like going back to, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to feed my kid, and I'm like on the way back. And it took me about a week, 2 weeks to kind of like regroup. And I actually went and had an idea. Well, let me help these businesses reboot, because it's changed. It's changed for me how I do business. It doesn't mean you shut down. It's just you do stuff in a different way. That's how you continue. That's how anybody, I mean, even your life, you're going to have to like move a little bit as times change, as you get more wrinkles and whatever. So I actually went to the Small Business Administration, and I had this little program that I had put together, and I started working with them, and it built my business up like right away. I rebooted myself in that way. So anytime that somebody needs an idea of how to pivot or how to put something else in that's going to be helpful for you in bringing up your income, I'm your gal. I'm really, really good at that. And that's the special kind of crazy I was born with. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Paula, you've been absolutely amazing. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Is there any last words for our peeps?
I love what you said when we first started out. Hope springs eternal. You are never too old, and you are never too late. If you go Google, if you think you're too old and this can't work for you, go Google the number of people who have hit their stride and their success and their millions in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. It is almost everybody, right? We have to get centered somehow and be able to do this. So you're never too old. It's never too late. And you can have and do anything you want. You really can, if you open your mind to it. And by the way, most people have goals that are way too small, and you're sticking in averageness, you're sticking in boredom. And when you get bored, you don't pay attention to it anymore. And then you start saying it never works for me. If you will set big, huge, ball-breaking goals at all moments and attend to them, look at them, go forward, like stick your stake in the ground that I'm going to do it, you will have so much energy and increase your activity. And that's probably the biggest thing that is stopping people, is the mentality of staying small.
Nice. I love it. Thank you so much for your time, Paula. I appreciate it, and I know how valuable it is.
Thank you so much for everything. I'm just honored to be here today, and thanks to all your viewers and all your listeners.
It's super fun. Peeps, this is Michelle Nedlock. Thank you for being here with us today. Be sure to share with your fellow entrepreneurs. And if you know anybody that would make a great guest for the show, or if you have topics you'd like me to discuss, reach out to me at michelle@awarenessstrategies.com or on LinkedIn and Facebook. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for listening to 7 to 8. If you're interested in upping your speaking game, be sure to connect with our guests with the links in the show notes, and connect with me to see how we can help you get your tech done for you and help your speaking dreams come true.